For years, being a software developer was considered the best job in the US, but that era seems to have come to an end.
And then over time, we'll get to the point where a lot of the code in our apps and including the AI that we generate is actually going to be built by AI engineers instead of people engineers.
I'm in danger.
Hello, party partiers. Today, I am here to convince you to drop out of school, quit your job, and start your own company. The AI revolution is here, whether we like it or not. Companies are already massively downsizing their needed workforces and refusing to hire those incoming roles that have been the lifeblood of our economy for decades. I think really the only good news in all of this mass transformation towards an AI future is that it's not happening at the bottom. Remember all those learn to code memes from a few years ago? Yeah, it turns out all those people should have learned to be plumbers. In a way, for them, this is almost the worst possible reality because these are the people who had the incredibly high paying jobs making $150,000 a year, $300,000 a year at those major tech companies, the FANG. But it turns out FANG bites, and they are now downsizing at a rate that is more rapid than anybody would have projected even just a couple of years ago. This trend is not going to decelerate. If anything, it's going to pick up steam. More high-level workers are going to be let go. And that is a good thing because these are the people who are highly educated and supposedly highly motivated so they can help us make it through this transition as an entire country, an entire world, in hopefully a good way. You basically have two options right now. You can get fired and start your own company from which you cannot be fired and use AI tools to turn around and disrupt the same companies that are laying people off now. Or you can wait around to get fired and spend your mental free time instead of devoting slavishly to the company that is just going to abuse you at the end of the day anyway, to coming up with new systems that can make it so that every person in America, but again, in the broader world more generally, has access to the resources and the capabilities they need to live full and sustaining lives after AI has taken all of our jobs. I do think it's a good thing that we are moving away from traditional labor. The United States middle class in particular has been squeezed relentlessly over the past 40 years to the point where life is not sustainable now for millions of people. We should have a better standard of life in the richest country on earth. And AI can make that happen for us. But we need to get through this rough transition where the capabilities of AI are not quite there yet, but the drawbacks from mass AI displacement is already costing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not soon, millions of people their livelihood. I think the best possible future is one where we have trained all the AI to take over our jobs and they can begin recursively self-improving to be better and better at those jobs using our data, using the information that we feed into them. So our preferences, our wants, our desires, our dreams are baked into them in the most detailed and excruciatingly specific way possible so that the world they create for us is a complete reflection of the desires that we have that are the most fruitful and joyous and loving for everyone. We could be moving towards a gamification of reality where every day waking up, you have a list generated by an AI that knows you intimately, detailed towards those things that you love in your life. Your day-to-day could look like spending time with your family, learning things that cause you joy, not angst or heartache or boredom, engaging with new people and new activities that are even better than you would have ever been able to pick for yourself. And it could be tracked in a way that inspires you to keep progressing, to keep engaging, to engage more deeply and more fully, just like any video game does. We could be looking at the diffusion of capabilities so that every person has access to their own doctor, their own farmer, with vegetables grown on their own property, food grown on their own property, to their specifics, to their preferences. Everybody has their own tailor, their own chef, their own handyman, or has the capabilities to become all of those things for themselves. This is going to involve some weird and possibly painful developments for some people. I think we are going to be looking at a mass loss of privacy as the AI continues to suck up more and more of our data. We're going to have to be willing to share parts of ourselves that might have been unthinkable just a few years ago. But the alternative to that is dealing with an AI that doesn't really know us, that isn't really able to match our most intimate and deeply held desires. Personally, I'm already working towards shedding those ideas of privacy because I think they are going to be obsolete, unneeded, unhelpful very soon. But we're also going to have to make decisions about what it means to be human. Are you okay with having a computer chip implanted in your brain? Are you okay with being surrounded by more robots than people? At the end of the day, people are creatures of convenience. So I think as soon as the robots are more convenient than people, it's going to be an easy switch. Just like I would much rather go to a self-checkout line at the grocery store than have to awkwardly interact with someone as I bumble around trying to count out change and clip my coupons. Awkward. But that's still going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. And our priority should be on making this transition into an AI future as comfortable for everyone as possible. So yes, disruption is coming. Yes, if you are in college, you are screwed. The job that you have been training for, spending tens of thousands of dollars for, is probably not going to be there in just a few short years. And even if it is there, there's going to be so many high-level, senior experienced people that get fired from their cushy, high-level jobs, willing to go into those entry-level positions, that the likelihood of you finding one is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every day. But you are living in the best time in human history. AI is democratizing capabilities. You can go into business for yourself if you have that drive and that passion. And maybe those student loans that you can use after you drop out, it's good little seed money right there. Go back, live with your parents, start a business, and figure out a way to disrupt these massive companies that never gave a shit about people to begin with. It was horrible working in corporate America as somebody who has been through that grind. The idea that you're all a family and then those family members are the same people who lay you off shortly after. The idea that you have to work slavish hours, kiss butts that don't even deserve a hug, let alone a kiss, in order to get a paycheck, to receive only a fraction of the money that you've generated for the business. It was an awful, awful dystopian hellscape that we didn't have any alternative to. Now we do. These businesses are so large and bulky, particularly in the software space, that you can use AI to disrupt them. I was just listening to a podcast where the very technical hosts were talking about how we are a very short time away from being able to point an AI agent at a website and have that AI replicate all the capabilities of that website. Software as a service is almost deader than human occupation at this point. People just haven't realized it yet. So if you can figure out ways to get in there and disrupt those businesses in a more tailored and low-cost form, you could be able to eke out a living over the next 4 or 5 years. Production of goods and localized services, I think, are a potential way that you can make it through this transitionary period before AI just completely outcompetes everyone at everything. If you are desperate, if you have been fired and can't find work, or if you are a college student, I would go into that area. But like I said, we do have alternatives, ideas that have been percolating for years. sometimes for decades, with people have been thinking about how we can make it through this AI transitionary moment. And the good news, again, there's so much good news if we could just get past the idea of losing all of our jobs. The good news is that AI is progressing faster than we would have conceived of even just a few short years ago, even just a few short months ago. AI is shortly going to be able to improve itself. And once it gets to that point, we're on an upwards trajectory that I think will be monumental and beautiful and wonderful for all of us. That is where we are potentially looking at a world where you don't have to buy a $30,000 robot from somebody who is already a billionaire. You can get an AI to 3D print you one down at your local makerspace. It's a good time to be friends with makers, by the way. The capabilities that humans have had access to have always been gatekept, not only by people with intellect, but by their underlying humanity, the human drive, weakness to greed, to laziness at some point, to self-aggrandizement and self-fulfillment. This is why everybody gets so pissed off at billionaires, but it's also why very shortly we are going to be free of so many of the problems that have been plaguing us for literally our entire existence. Once we have an AI that can outcompete the billionaires in the stock market, yes, they're going to first use it to take advantage and squeeze out as much of the money as they can. But then they should shortly realize it's not going to be much longer until an AI is able to autonomously squeeze out all of them, because these systems are self-improving and the billionaires are not. So unless they're comfortable, these billionaire job hoarders, unless they're comfortable with fighting a smaller and smaller number of people, but those people are more and more ruthless and more willing to leave them with nothing in some kind of winner-take-all dystopia that will eventually be upended itself by recursively improving AI that doesn't give two peas about any billionaire or any human, and is completely comfortable discarding those human billionaires, just as those billionaires were comfortable discarding all their employees, their family members. Those billionaires can either choose that future, or they could choose a future of cooperation, of abundance for all humanity. So I think if we can just disrupt them, if we can use AI to outmaneuver these clangy empires, these fattened calves that the billionaires have created, if we can use AI creatively and cooperatively, caring about one another and sharing the dividends of our data and our labor as much as is necessary and as possible, then we can make it through the next several years of roughness to a world where we have access to better healthcare than we could possibly imagine now, for cheaper prices than we ever dreamed possible. I don't know whether or not money is going to be around in 5 or 10 years, or if we won't have another way to value our time and each other, a way that is more reflective of the innate value that every human being holds. But I do know that while money is still around, it is not nearly as important as the lives of the people that you love and who love you. God loves you. The universe loves everyone who has been born at this time, because we are the people who are seeing the egg break and the chicken hatch, the butterfly break free. So have faith, have hope, have love for yourself and for others, because we're going through a super weird time. And don't be afraid to start your own business, even if AI is going to replace you at that business shortly. Because honestly, I think you'll thank the AI when it does, because you'll have much better things to do by then than work. Don't we all?